I'm in. Now I see everything. I'm in. How do I do this now? Share on the page, okay? Are you there?
Yep, I'm here.
Okay. What's the name of the thing? Can you just read it to me? That way I don't have to go back and forth.
Read what? You're not telling me nothing.
Read the name of the event. Virtual schooling.
Oh, let me find it.
It's virtual schooling while getting business done.
Oh, right. Hold on. While getting business done. Alrighty. Share to your groups, right? Miami business leaders.
Mm-hmm.
And then let me copy and paste the, where's that description that you did the other day, Andre?
Oh gosh. Hold on. I gotta go on there. It was on my page. And
I got it.
all right, cool. Don't, yeah, just remove the Miami-Dade, just put public schools or something. Don't limit it.
Right, I'm just, hold on. I'm having issues with my, my mouse. Crap.
You need a USB one?
My mouse isn't working, so I can't, it's hard for me to copy and paste what the, because I don't have a mouse, I have the little,
I just put it in the chat. Can you copy and paste it that way? Here, all right, 1201. Share your screen, I guess. I can do it for you. Or I can bring you a USB mouse. Which one you want?
whichever one is quicker. Oh crap. I'm trying to do it Control B. Okay, I did it.
You all need it?
Not really. Well, I'm gonna need it. Just
all right, it's here. You just need something to
Miami, what is it? Public schools?
No, just don't put Miami, just put public schools.
In South Florida. Alrighty. Okay. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Are you ready, darling, Princess?
Yes,
now, is
I'm
Princess
ready.
your real name?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Want to make sure.
Official, bona fide. Yes.
Okay. Hold on. Let me just make sure we're on the right.
Then I'll look at the questions as well when audience members are asking.
Okay. Let's do gallery view. All right, let's go live. And as soon as I hit live, like right now, it's gonna go live. We just don't see it for a few minutes, but this is a great time that you can refresh the ARC Solvers page and you'll see the live.
Okay.
Now, If you click on the live, you want to have your computer on mute because then you're going to hear yourself talking.
Or mute when the live starts to play on your Facebook, just make sure the mute button for that little frame is on.
Right.
Wait a minute, say that again.
Okay, so when you go to ArcSolver's page, you're gonna see it live, right?
Uh-huh.
Then you're gonna see the little sound button.
Mm-hmm.
Just make sure that the sound is off so you
Off.
don't hear. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, because then it's going to hear you echo.
Oh, okay.
Okay, ready? 1, 2, and 3. Hello, everyone. We are waiting to get on this live and make sure that all of our technicalities are running smoothly. We want to welcome you to another episode of the Miami Business Leaders Group, where we interview amazing leaders in the South Florida, Miami community in hopes to raise awareness, in hopes of getting our entrepreneurs to learn more and get more information about our Miami business leaders. And today we have an amazing business leader in the Miami community. It's Princess Briggs. She is the CEO of Briggs Education. And as you know, today's topic is going to be virtual schooling while getting business done. So thank you guys for joining us. And just to let you know, if you are a Miami business leader, we want to welcome you and we want to invite you to join Miami Business Leaders Group. It is a private group on Facebook where entrepreneurs are getting together, they're networking, and they are closing on business and referring one another. Just another amazing way that we can partner and continue to raise awareness on all the amazing businesses that we have here in the Miami community. So if you are a CEO, a leader, an influencer, an entrepreneur, we want you to be part of the Miami Business Leaders Group. So Princess, how are you doing today? First of all, how are you?
I am doing absolutely great. Wonderful day. And I'm so excited to get this conversation started.
That is awesome. We are so happy you're here. Tell us a little bit about your business, your organization.
Well, let me back up and I'll start from the very beginning. So when I was growing up, I actually grew up with a brother, an older brother. And when he was in school, we are only 13 months apart, and he's my older brother by 13 months. And when we were in school, very close in age, very close in grade, my mom would get a lot of phone calls home because he wasn't progressing in school. And the teachers generally called about things that, you know, he was having problems with his assignments. He wasn't doing very well with his homework. He wasn't keeping up with his peers in the classroom. And then he even started having behavioral problems in the classroom as he got older. And these were problems that the school called year after year. It didn't matter what teacher it was. It didn't matter what grade he was in. But my mom would get these phone calls year after year while he was going through school. And he would always barely pass to the next grade. Well, my mom knew that there was something wrong because she was doing everything that she could do at home. We did homework. She got us tutors, more so for my brother, made sure that we were keeping up with our homework. Although she worked a lot, those people who were in charge of caring for us while she was at work, she made sure that they made us do our homework and so on and so forth. But with all of that, he still wasn't progressing. So in about 6th grade, he had a teacher that recognized that there was something that wasn't quite right. It wasn't that he was just, you know, forgetting homework or not doing well in school intentionally. That teacher actually saw that there was a little something wrong and she wanted to explore. So she actually referred my brother for some evaluations. And after the evaluations that he had in 6th grade, it was actually determined that he has a learning disability. So my mom thought, you know, finally, now we know why he is not progressing well in school. We know why he's forgetting the homework. He wasn't forgetting intentionally, he just had a memory deficit. She also realized that he wasn't progressing not because he didn't care about school. He actually cared about school. He enjoyed going to school, but there was just something missing. He actually had a diagnosed learning disability. So with that, she put him in the special education classes, and she thought finally he goes into these special education classes, he's going to start progressing, getting the help that he needs, and voila, things will get better. Well, he went into the special education classes, and a few months in, things didn't actually turn out the way that she thought they would turn out. She actually started getting phone calls again about him not remembering the homework and about him not progressing, keeping up with his peers. Although he was in a special setting, he still wasn't progressing in that special setting. And at this point, my mom was absolutely frustrated. She didn't know what to do. She was at her wit's end. And it was almost like, I am hopeless at this time. Well, about 10 years later, I actually became a mom. Not because I had a child with a learning disability, but I had a classroom full of children with learning disabilities, because at that time I had become a special education teacher. And I was the person on the other end of the call, calling parents saying that your child is not progressing as well as I think they should. Your child is forgetting the homework. Your child is not bringing back the homework and not doing well in class and forgetting things and just not progressing. I was that person who was now frustrated and at the end of my rope and feeling hopeless. Well, Maya Angelou once said that if you don't like a thing, change it. And if you can't change it, change the way that you think about it. And that's exactly what I did. I had to figure out what my students were doing wrong, and I had to change the way I thought about what was happening in the classroom. So what I actually did is, instead of me looking at my children's deficits and things that they weren't able to do, I started looking at those things that my children were able to do. What areas were they progressing in? What areas were they really shining? And so what I did is I actually took those strengths that my students had, and I was actually able to mold those strengths in such a way that I took those strengths and I coupled those strengths with those things that they could not do to help them get where I wanted them to be. So for example, I had students in the classroom who they did not do so well where reading comprehension is concerned, but they really wanted to write. So I took their strength and their desire to write, and I coupled that with their reading comprehension, and I was able to show them how the reading and the writing actually worked hand in hand. I actually gathered some teachers, other teachers who were in the special education department, specifically the math teacher, because I realized that some students did a lot better in math than they did in my reading class. So what I was able to do is harness those strengths that they had in math, and I used those strengths in my reading and language arts classes to show them how to use their strengths. If you can read a math problem, you can read a paragraph, and I just showed them how to break it down. So in turn, I actually took those strengths and I used those strengths to help them progress and to help them get over those challenges. So I was in my own classroom. I was in my own little box. I was only able to affect the change of just the students who I had for that year. And I decided, you know what, this is not working for me. I have to affect change on more than just the 100 or so students that I had, you know, with the 6 periods, about 20 kids per period. And so what I did is I created this business, Briggs Education Consulting and Support. And what I do is I actually show parents and educators, but more so parents, on ways that they can harness their children's strengths and use their strengths to help them overcome things that they find challenging. And that's what I've been doing. I've been in education for the last 25 years, and I absolutely enjoy it.
That is amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. We're so happy that you took the opportunity to be here. And I just kind of want to preface the audience of how this conversation is going to go. So if you don't know who we are ARC Solvers, cybersecurity and IT services, and we provide managed IT and cybersecurity services to businesses here in the Miami community. So welcome. If you are watching We are your go-to person in your place of business. If you ever need any type of cybersecurity and IT management. And we thought that this conversation was important because we are parents
Mhm.
and we're business owners, and
Right.
we are now working from home more than normal due to the pandemic. So we actually have a lot of questions for you because we don't know ourselves. I mean, we're trying to figure out. We have a 2-year-old and we have a 13-year-old. So we're in that state where, you know what, we need the counseling. And if you guys want to chime in to the counsel that we're seeking, then this is what it's all about. If you do have any questions, please feel free to put them in the comment space below, and we will take time before the conversation is over to answer any questions or any concerns that you guys might have. Virtual schooling while getting business done is a very hard thing. I mean, it's complicated. We're having to constantly get out of our computers to go make sure that our kids are doing well, and it's a hard thing to manage. So this is a very important conversation. So I'm going to go with our first question to you, Princess, is what can we as parents do to motivate a child who may be refusing to do their schoolwork or who may be experiencing anxiety about school? Because, you know, I'm imagining that even just because school is now going to start virtually, it doesn't mean that the anxiety doesn't kick in. You know, they're still being confronted with tests and schoolwork. So how do we manage that as parents at home now?
And generally speaking, if your children aren't motivated or they're experiencing some level of anxiety, it may be because they haven't experienced enough success. So the first thing that I would say do is you really want to hone in on those things that they find to be very successful. So let me give you an example. Remember when I said that my brother has a learning disability and he didn't do so well where school is concerned? However, my brother was an excellent artist. He would excel in all of his art classes in school. He knew how to use his hands. He was a very hands-on type person. When we were teenagers, he would take apart mechanical things. I remember one day he started really early on a Saturday morning. He took a loose his bike part by part, like nut and bolt by nut and bolt. And my mom was like, "Oh my goodness, you took your whole bike apart. What are you doing? You better have this bike back together before dark." And he had the entire bike back together, bolt by bolt, nut by nut before dark. And he was able to ride the bicycle up and down the street. And that's something that he did as a preteen. So because my mom was able to harness those things that he found to be a strength, using his hands, things that were very hands-on. And she highlighted that. We would have artwork that he did posted on the refrigerator all the time. And, you know, we would always discuss, "Oh, you're so good with your hands. You know, come and do this project. Come and help me put up this shelf," or something like that. And once he was able to do that, he was able to say, "If I can do this, then I can do other things." So for example, when he was studying for his spelling test, because he was very hands-on, we would cut out letters and he would put the letters together. You know, he was able to manipulate the letters by hand as opposed to just write. You know how the teacher would say, "Write your spelling words 10 times each." Well, that didn't work for him. But getting those letters, even letters that you would stick to the front of the refrigerator, those magnet letters, because he was very hands-on, he was able to manipulate the letters. And those are some of the ways that we found that worked for him. So if your child is not very motivated when it comes to schoolwork, or if they're experiencing some level of anxiety, and I'm going to talk about a little bit more about anxiety in a minute, but if you think that they're experiencing some level of anxiety or they're not very motivated, try to find those things that they do very well, and you really want to accentuate the positive and let them know, you know, have that honest conversation with them. Not everybody does well in every subject. However, you are good at whatever, fill in the blank. And if you can do this, then I'm going to show you how you can use that strength to do this thing over here. And you just help them. Some children are also not motivated because they don't have any help. They feel like I am completely alone. I'm by myself. Sometimes we'll say, go to your room and do your homework. Well, in their room, they may feel alone. They may feel like I don't have anybody to help me. They may feel like I'm in this all alone. Think about us as adults. Think about if we were training and we had to go to the gym, and the trainer at the gym just said, go over there in that corner and get on that machine and do that work on your own. And you had to go over there and you had to figure out this machine that you've never been on and you don't even know how it works. And they're telling you just to go and do it. And you see them on the other side of the gym having a good time and high-fiving. You're going to feel like you're completely alone. However, if that trainer came over and at least showed you how to use the machine and at least said, you do 10 minutes on your own and I'll be back, then you would feel more comfortable saying, okay, now I know how to use it. I know what's expected of me. And then I'm not in this all alone. He's going to be back in about 10 minutes or so to make sure that I'm on the right track. That's exactly what we want to do with our kids. If they have a separate place that they're doing homework, we want to open the homework. Let me see what you're doing. Okay, you need to do numbers 1 through 5. You need to read this particular, whatever they need to do. This is what you need to do. So outline for them what they need to do. And then say, I'm going to go start dinner and I'll be back in about 10 or 15 minutes. I'm going to go pick up the laundry from the cleaners and I'll be back to make sure that you're on the right track. Therefore, your child is now more confident and, okay, now I know what I need to do. And I also know that I'm not in this all by myself. So that just gives them a little bit of support so that they don't feel all alone. Now, I want to talk about anxiety. When I say if your child is not motivated or if your child is feeling some type of anxiety, I don't mean a high level of anxiety. If you think that your child is experiencing a level of anxiety that it's over a long period of time and they can't seem to shake it, that means that you probably need to seek professional help. That means that you probably need to reach out to your child's pediatrician, maybe get a referral to a therapist or a psychologist, because there may be some underlying issue. There may not, but you don't know. So I would say that if your child is experiencing what you may consider a deep level of anxiety, or if they've been experiencing this anxiety for a long period of time, I would say it's probably time for you to seek some additional professional assistance.
Wow, that's some good stuff. Andre, I think you have some things you want to share and ask the next question.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for that information, Princess. So, as parents for ourselves, Miami-Dade, Broward County, they just announced that everything is going to go virtual for at least for the first phase, let's call it.
Right.
So how do you recommend parents that, have to still be able to work from home, but be able to, we have a 2-year-old, we have a 13-year-old, and we still have to be able to make sure that they're learning, because as we know, they're not learning the full 5-6 hours. So, but we still need to do our work. So how do you recommend that we balance that?
3 words: schedule, schedule, schedule. You must establish a working schedule. It's not going to work if you wake up in the morning and have no idea what the morning is going to hold. You must create a schedule. Number 1, you have to create a schedule, but number 2, you have to stick to the schedule. So I was anticipating that this question was going to come up. So I actually have some things written down so that I don't forget, because this is so important. So the first thing, like I said, is you want to make sure that you create a schedule. You want to have a morning schedule or morning routine. You want to have that time of day that they're actually learning. So a school routine. You actually want to make sure you schedule some fun time in there, and then you want to have a night routine. So again, you want to have a wake up morning routine, you want to have a learning routine, you want to have a fun activity, something routine, and then you want to have a night routine. So when you wake up in the morning, first of all, you should not allow your children to sleep until all hours of the morning. There should be a designated time, just like as if they were going to a traditional school. There should be a designated time that they wake up in the morning, they get up at that same time, Monday through Friday, and it's expected of them. And then you follow the morning routine as if you were actually going to school. So you wake up, you go to the bathroom, get yourself together, you want to eat, and I would suggest that you also kick in about a 5-minute exercise routine. If it's something like stretching, doing a few jumping jacks, because what that does, it actually gets the blood flowing. And we know that brain science teaches us that when we have oxygen going to the brain, oxygen and glucose, it actually wakes up the brain and prepares the brain for learning. That's why sometimes in the classroom, your kids may say, oh, in the morning time when we go to class, we do this 5-minute fun activity. They think they're having fun because it is fun, but we're actually trying to get the blood flowing to the brain. So you want to wake them up, breakfast, a good breakfast, have them to do some type of exercise routine. And this is so important because I see this all over Facebook. Parents, please do not allow your children to be in school in their pajamas. I know that some people take it like a joke. They're saying, oh, instead of me buying uniforms, I'm going to buy school pajamas. We may say it as a joke, but some people might not realize that this is actually working against your child. Why? Because the child's brain is not clicking that it's time for me to go to school. Some parents will even make their child put on the school uniform and be home on virtual learning, and that's actually a very good thing. So you want them to just get up and get dressed for school, whatever getting dressed is, but not in their pajamas. And then you want to have a specific time set aside that they're going to learn, whether it's going to be from 9 to 12, whether it's going to be from 10 to 1, whatever it is. And of course, you have to set this up with your child's classroom teacher because they have to be online, sitting in front of the computer at a specific time. So when you create your schedule, you want to make sure that that schedule is in line with whatever they're doing in the classroom. And then you also want to schedule in time that they're actually doing homework. Although all of it is considered homework because they're home, no. You want to have that time that is set aside, that hour or two, and depending on the child's age, for elementary, it's about a half an hour to an hour. And for the upper grades, about an hour to 2 hours, depending on your child's grade. You want to set that time, schedule that time in. And then we can't forget fun time. They need to let their hair down. They need to go run around. They need to have a good time. And then you can also schedule in some activities. We're going to make brownies tonight. We're going to go outside and plant some seeds or whatever. We're going to go and ride the bike in the park. Whatever it is that you want to do, you want to make sure you schedule that fun time. And then your night routine, you cannot forget. They need to be going to sleep at a specific time every single night so that they can get a good 8 hours sleep before they have to wake up the next morning to start the routine all over again. Okay?
Wow, that was like a lot of information. And one of the things that I even see in our household is I think since this whole quarantine, we all put on a couple of extra pounds because the living room is here and a couple of steps over is the fridge. So can you talk about, So can you talk about that for a moment and how even to schedule that, because my kids, they just go and they just sneak in, a Cheeto and a Pringles and grapes and all that.
Right. So I tell parents, kids have a school stomach and they have a home stomach. And while they're home, they need to be using their school stomach at home. And what do I mean by that? When they go to a traditional building, they're not eating all day. We, teachers in the classroom, we don't have cupboards that have snacks and refrigerators that they can just go to all day. They have their school stomach in school. That means they know that they eat breakfast at a certain time, and then they have a couple of hours in between before it's time for them to go to lunch. They're used to that. So if they're used to that during the day in school, you have to do the same thing at home. There needs to be something set up in your home where they know that you eat breakfast and you're not allowed to eat again until snack time, and snack is at this particular time, or lunch is going to be at this particular time. They should not be eating and grazing all day. And as for us as adults, we should be doing the same thing. When you go to work, you have breakfast and then you work for a few hours and then you have lunch. It should be set up the same way at home. And let me just go back to your schedule for a few seconds because I forgot to mention this. Your working schedule, because you are at home as well, needs to jive with your child's school schedule. So you need to say to yourself, if I know that I need to be helping my child with their schoolwork from 3 to 5, then that is not the time that I'm going to be working. And if I know that my child is online with their classroom teacher from 9 to 12, then I need to use from 9 to 12 for my time that I could be working from home or doing whatever I need to do because my child is busy in the classroom, their virtual classroom with their teacher. So when you create your child's schedule, you need to make sure that you have your schedule right next to it so that the two schedules can actually jive and they're not bumping heads with each other. And that includes the scheduling in your lunches. You can even have family lunches. Just like we have family dinners, you can also have family lunches.
And I actually think that that's I know it's challenging, but I think it's pretty awesome if you are now able to spend more time with your kids, interact more with your kids, like you said, have lunchtime. Like, how awesome that we are able to now take an hour from our day, in the middle of our day, to have lunch with our family, and we were not able to do that before. So I think that's a great point to bring out, that let's change our perspective, and let's not just think, oh great, now I can't get my work done because, or oh great, now it's kind of like a negative. But let's change the perspective to how awesome that we get to see our child's development. We get to experience these times together as a family, and I think looking at the positive way of it can also help us kind of pivot and get through this time.
Right.
I want to ask you another question, because you talked about balancing, right? So part of what I see that Andre has actually been doing is he'll schedule really important calls while the kids are playing outside. And I think that that's a really good balancing act, because you talked about giving playtime, right? So for example, we're fortunate that we have an older son that he can take our youngest daughter to play for an hour, and we know that in that hour we're going to schedule the important phone calls, we're going to schedule phone meetings, whatever we need to do where we know that we need that concentrated time is going to happen during that 1 hour. And I think for those business people, employees, entrepreneurs that are watching, I also think that now we're living in an era where it's okay to tell the person that you're speaking to, hey, I'm working from home and my kids are home too, so you might hear some screaming in the background. And just a funny story, yesterday we were in a huge conference call with an organization that we're part of, and this man was talking, and then his kid is literally just standing in the background, and he stops the conference call and he's telling his kid, get out the room, and it's prior to COVID, that would be very unprofessional. It would be very like, oh my God, I can't believe it. But now post-COVID, we're like laughing. We're like, oh my God, this is great. It's the new normal, totally acceptable. So I think that being honest with your client, being honest with your customer, being honest, say, hey, we're working from home. I also have kids at home. So don't be, startled if you hear something in the background, or if I have to stop to now take care of something that my kid is doing. Because when we talk about the new normal, I believe that that's part of the new normal.
Yes, definitely. And I also want to say this as well. You bring up a very good point. Yes, we all as parents, as entrepreneurs, as business owners, we're wearing all these different hats all at one time. And we talked about the children's level of anxiety earlier, but I want to speak to our levels of anxiety. Because all of this is new and we're experiencing all this, and like you said, my kid is in the room and oh my God, it's so embarrassing and this is so unprofessional. Calm down. Everybody is going through the same thing. Other people's children are at home too. So bring that level of anxiety down a few notches, because your kids feed off of that. And when they see you're really anxious, then they feel like they have to be really anxious. And now you just have the whole household. Everybody's just anxious and running around and screaming at each other. It's okay. Other professionals know that you have your children at home, because theirs are at home as well. Your children were just screaming, but their children will probably be screaming in another few minutes. So it's okay. That's one thing. The second thing is, children are very aware that there are times that they can interrupt and there are times they can't interrupt. So for example, when I was in the classroom, If a principal walked in, someone from the district walked in, my kids knew this is the time that we have to be quiet. We cannot go and ask her any questions. If we have a question about our work, that was the inappropriate time for you to ask a friend, ask a partner. And of course, I had all of this set up so my kids knew what to do in the event that something like that happened. Do the same thing with your kids. They know that mom or dad, they're in a meeting right now. And this is not the time that I could go inside the room to ask a question. I need to wait, write that question on a sticky note or circle the question that I may have on my paper. And when they're done, then I can go and ask for help. So your kids are very used to waiting. And if they're not used to waiting, this is a really good time to get them used to waiting your turn. This is not the appropriate time. I'm a little busy right now, and I'll get to you when I have the opportunity.
That's so great. That's just some awesome stuff that you're sharing with us. Thank you so much for all of your knowledge in this. Andre, I believe you have the next question.
Yeah, we actually have an audience question. So they want to know, they said, Princess, I am not a teacher. What do I do when I don't know how to do the homework myself?
Right. So that brings up another, yes, that's an excellent question. That brings up another question where the levels of anxiety are concerned. Parents are feeling a lot of anxiety because they're like, I haven't been to school in years. I don't know what this new math is. I don't know what they're expecting kids to do. And I don't know what to do. Another level of anxiety. Again, calm down. As educators, we realize that this is new for all of us. So my suggestion to you are a couple of things. Number one, you want to make sure that you are in constant communication with your child's teacher. Teachers are very aware that parents are having difficulty during this time and that parents are home, and some parents are leaving their children home because they still have to go outside of the home to go to work. So I would recommend that you email that teacher, let that teacher know where you stand. Listen, I'm outside of the home. My child is home with grandparents, with aunt, uncle, whatever. We need a lot of help. I don't know how to do the new math. Can you share some resources with me? We are more than happy to share resources with you of where you can go to actually get that assistance. And sometimes as parents overthink things too much. Parents feel like I have to learn all the geometry and learn all of the new stuff all over again. You may actually be looking too much into it. Get on the phone with the teacher or email them and ask them, how far should I be going with this? How should I be helping my child with their homework? What should I be doing? Because it might not be as bad as you think. So number one, I would say communicate with your child's teacher and stay in communication with your child's teacher. Don't just email them one time and think that's it. Communicate with them and stay in communication with them. And then number two, seek out additional resources. Google is amazing. Khan Academy, Khan, Khan Academy is excellent where resources are concerned. Many of your children have online books. Those online books have sections that parents can go and get additional support and resources within that online textbook. So those are some resources that you can actually seek out when you're needing assistance for your child.
That is so good. You know, we actually, and I'll let Andre share, we recently just shared one option that we felt was really good for our family. Andre, talk about the experience.
Yeah, so the third quarter of the last school year, my son was really struggling with math, and it just didn't, there was not a lot of options at the school for tutoring, and based on the distance and the times, it just wasn't working out. And afterwards, I asked them, well, don't you have a friend that just is good in math? And they did that, and they did some tutoring, but then he started having baseball practice. So I actually went online because for our business, a lot of times we outsource things. And I went to a website called Upwork, which is similar like a Fiverr, where where you can find people that have degrees in math, have degrees in science, or whatever the subject is. And right now my son is taking, even during the summer where there's no school, he's learning now 8th grade math so that he's ready. And I mean, and it's someone in the Philippines. And he sits in the table, I'm listening, make sure nothing funny is happening. And it's only $4 an hour, $10 an hour. And from third quarter of last year and fourth quarter of last school year, he went from an F to an A in math.
See, exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. So see, thank you for sharing that. Seeking out those outside resources. And now it's a great time because so many people are doing, or most of the kids are doing distance learning, and there's so many resources that are available online because people realize that parents need help. Now more so than ever, you would find a lot of resources online, but it's just that you have to go and seek out that assistance. I would definitely say stay in contact with your child's teacher. They know what resources are good specifically for their class, for their subject matter. And like Andre just said, seek out additional assistance with online and different things that you can find because the help is definitely out there.
You know, one thing that I wanted to bring up, because we are an IT provider, and we're very big on cybersecurity, on internet security. If for parents that might be watching and might be saying, well, I don't know how I feel about my kid talking to a stranger, you know, over the computer, especially in another country. I know one of the things that we do is that we make sure that the volume is up on the computer so that we can hear what is being shared, what is spoken about. We leave the door open so that at any minute we can come in, we can do a spot check, make sure that, you know, everything is good and that they're sticking to the lesson plan. So there are some things, if you are a parent out there and maybe you're a little skeptical about having your child in front of a computer with a stranger, there are definitely some things that you can do to make sure that you're monitoring the conversation.
And I would even suggest, let me just throw out a word that I just came off the top of my head as you were speaking, computer pooling. So you know how we carpool and we would send our kids, you know, I'm going to do before school drop off and you do pick up, you know, because I'm busy at that time, or I'll do Monday, Wednesday, Friday, you do Tuesday, Thursday, whatever. Let's say you have parents in your child's class and you're working from home and they're working from home, but you have to be working in the morning, but they have the morning off. So they could be monitoring your kids and their kids in that chat room or Zoom or whatever, and then you could take the afternoon. So, you know, you have an adult in the room at all times to make sure that nothing is happening that should not be happening. So we could also share that responsibility because a lot of parents are home and definitely are concerned about the security measures.
That is so good. That is such a good idea. I mean, in working together, you know, it says that it takes a village.
Definitely.
That's a great example of how it takes a village to keep our children safe and to make sure that they're doing the right thing. We do have a question from the audience. Do you know if the school board is helping with any laptops for parents or students who don't have any internet or computers at home?
Yes, so I know that at the beginning of when this all started happening in March, there were programs that the schools had where the parents could come to the school and check out a laptop for their child to work at home. But I think that those computers had to be turned in at the end of the school year at some schools, I think specifically. This year, now that we're starting the new year, I would definitely recommend that you contact your child's school now to find out what would be available. So I'm sorry, I have a little friend trying to fly around me. Call your child's school to find out what resources are available, what computers are available, what type of connections they may need, because you want to make sure that you get on any type of a list or whatever they have. And also, I know schools roll them out by grade level. So they may say, if your child is in kinder and first, you're going to come to the school on these particular days to pick up your laptop, and second and third, so on and so forth. So you definitely want to make sure that you communicate with your child's school now to make sure that you're on any type of a list that they may have. And also the schools need to be prepared so that they'll know that, yes, we have X amount of parents that do need the laptops and the internet connection and so on and so forth.
Yeah, and one thing to add to that as well is the federal government made funds available for if you're not able to afford internet, because there's actually a big population that still has no internet at home. And basically you work out a deal, you contact Comcast or AT&T and you let them know, and through that partnership that they did, the government will be paying the internet bill for your home, and it just goes through Comcast and AT&T as normal.
Right. And then I do know certain schools I have on the top of my mind right now where the principal, awesome idea that she had, there were parents that were still communicating with her that although they had the computer from the school, although they did have the internet, there was only a certain amount of internet, the minutes, the hours, I'm not sure how that worked, but they had multiple kids at home. So what she did is she was able to say, okay, I still want to make sure that your kids get what they need. So I am going to hand deliver some packets to them, and I'm going to hand deliver some materials so that they will continue to keep up. And then once you're able to get the internet and whatever up and running, this will just hold them over until you're able to do that. That's what I mean by staying in constant communication with your child's teacher and with the school, because if we don't know what's going on, we're not able to help you. And there are different things that the school may be able to do until you get your internet and computer up and running. And especially if you have multiple kids at home. And speaking of multiple kids, some people have multiple kids at home and they only have a certain amount of devices. So they may have 1 or 2 laptops and they have 3 or 4 kids at home. So what do? That's where that schedule comes into play. That's where communicating with your child's teacher comes into play. Let the teacher know that you have multiple kids at home, but you only have a limited amount of devices. And do they have any suggestions? And you want to set up a schedule with your kids at home. So child number 1 is on the computer from X time to X time, child number 2, X time to X time, so on and so forth.
Wow. I mean, that's such great information. And another tip is one thing that I do, not necessarily for computers, but to find activities for my kids, is I go into all the cities' Facebook pages, like City of Miami Gardens, City of Miami Beach, City of North Miami, City of this, that, to look for activities, free activities that we can partner with, go. Well, now, with the lack of activities, but I say that to say that a lot of those pages share these things that they're giving out to the community. And a lot of times you don't have to have a resident card for that community. So always stay in touch with, the community's Facebook pages, the government pages, because they'll post those programs. And many times you don't have to be a member of that community. It's just basically open to the South Florida community. So that's another good way to stay in touch, to see who's giving out computers or who's giving out any other resources for parents at this time. I know that we're almost coming to a close, and I want to talk about the idea. And I want to hear your expertise and your thoughts on. So we heard that during this time, because parents do need to focus on work, and that's a very valid, it's a very valid thing, that parents and some teachers were possibly partnering together and sending their kids to either a home or somewhere where there was a teacher that they were being privately paid to teach those kids or to help monitor the online schooling. What are your thoughts on that? I just kind of want to get your thoughts on that, because I have a feeling that is going to start to happening. And I just want to get your thoughts.
So I would say a couple of things. Number one, I would say do your research, do your homework, do your due diligence, because you want to make sure that if you are dropping your child off to someone's home, you're dropping your child off in the hands of someone. You want to make sure that, number one, you know who these people are, and not only the person who is supposed to be the teacher, but then who else is inside that home while your children are there, and if they are allowed to be around children. Just number one, safety and security is of the utmost importance, because if your child is not safe, we can forget about the educational part. You want to make sure that your child is safe in someone else's home. If the person is coming into your home, you also want to make sure that your child is safe, because although you might be there and you may be home, you still want to make sure that whoever you're inviting into your home is someone that you trust around your child. Secondly, we need to remember that the whole reason we're doing all of this is because of the coronavirus. So you want to have a way of making sure that if your children are around other children or adults or whomever, that your children are going to be physically safe as well, and have some type of measure to make sure that the children are safe and they're wearing a mask and they're washing their hands and so on and so forth. And then what are we going to do about food? I don't know how long they're going to be with this person. Is there going to be lunch provided? Is that lunch safe? Has it been refrigerated? You know, all of these kinds of things. So you really want to make sure that you put on that hat of, is my child going to be secure and safe in this environment? The second thing, you want to make sure that the person who is supposed to be teaching your child is actually certified or able to teach them. If you know you're paying and they're teaching your child whatever the subject is, you want to make sure they're actually certified to teach the child, and that they actually have those resources that are available. So if they're teaching some type of math, that they have that level of knowledge and they also have the resources available, and you're not just paying for something that you could really just do at home on your own. So I would definitely say, make sure that you do your homework to know who these people are, make sure that your child is going to be safe, and make sure that they're providing the level of services that you're hiring them to provide to your child.
That is so good. Great information. I know that's I'm a huge advocate for child safety, and we just really want to make sure that parents, if you're listening out there, we understand that you have to work. And if you feel like you really need to send your child to another home, or another environment, please make sure that you know exactly where you're sending your kids, where you're going, where they're going. Part of the reason why I feel we send our kids to school is because there's security there, right? Or teachers are watching the kids, principals, or there's people there that are designated to watch our kids. So it's a little concerning to me. I'm concerned about parents sending their kids to places that, it's not the same as I'm having a group of kids in my house and all of a sudden, Uncle Tom decides to visit.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
and I'm gonna now let Uncle Tom into my home,
Mm-hmm.
and I can't really restrict, or I think, we don't know. So I don't want to get too deep into that, but I think if you're listening, you understand the premise of what I'm talking about. So just please be careful.
And let me also say this, if I may, let me also say this. We have a lot of older children who are home watching younger children. Parents, we need to remember that the older children are not parents. And children are children, and children are going to make child decisions, and they're going to think like a child because they are children. We have to remember that we cannot expect children to think and make decisions the way an adult will, because they are not adults. So I say that to say that we cannot leave 100% of the responsibility of a younger child on an older sibling or an older cousin, and just expect everything to run smoothly. I understand that many children may be very mature and they may have watched their older brother or sister or cousin before, but it's watching your brother or sister over the weekend is different than watching them Monday through Friday all day long. So just, have some parameters in there, like phone calls, making sure that if you're away and at work, you're having phone calls and you're making sure, no, call me from home, no, FaceTime me and let me see that you're actually at home and that you are actually safe. Having a neighbor drop by, having someone, just setting up those security parameters just to make sure that your children are safe, and then having that line of communication, so that if your older teenage child really is overwhelmed, being open and telling them, look, if this is too much for you and if you're feeling overwhelmed, let me know, because I don't want you to be overwhelmed watching your younger brothers and sisters, because it's my responsibility as a parent, not your responsibility as their sibling.
That's so good. That is so good. And we are coming up to the end. Andre, do you want to share any points in regards to that?
Yeah, we had well actually we had one more question to ask if we can, and I'm going to kind of bundle it with two. So if a parent suspects that their child may be experiencing learning challenging beyond what's normal, or if a child has if your child already has a diagnosed disability, how should parents deal with that?
Right. So many children, many parents are very anxious to have their children home because their child has a learning disability or some other type of, they need special services. They're in a special education program. And then some parents may feel that my child is not in a special education program, but they're really behind and I really need some support. You must communicate with your child's teacher. I cannot stress that enough. If you feel as though your child needs some support and they're not in a special education program, you want to put that in writing and email that to your child's teacher. You simply email, "Dear Mr. or Mrs. So-and-so, I am very concerned about filling your child's name. They're not doing so well in reading, writing, math, whatever it is, and I would like to have a conversation so that we can talk about this further." And then you want to make sure that you follow up with that email. If your child already has a diagnosed disability, you just want to find out what's going on, again, email that teacher. "Hi, Mr. or Mrs. So-and-so, my child is new in your class this year. He or she has an IEP. When can we meet so that we can go over the IEP? I really want to understand my child's IEP and how I can support him or her at home." And again, you want to not just send the email, you want to send the email and then you want to follow up. So say something like, "I am available from this time to this time. What is your availability?" So that you and your child's classroom teacher can be on the same page. If you don't hear anything back from that classroom teacher, then I would say you can communicate that same email to your child's administrator. Someone should definitely be getting in contact with you.
That's great. And Darlene, sorry, Princess, I know that I know that you are having a seminar or a
Yes.
webinar that's coming up. And I think that is great because if those who are watching, if you want to continue to get more information on education and on your kids, Princess is hosting a webinar. So I want you to give us that information. And also, where can people contact you to get your services and to learn more about your organization?
So you can go to my website and it is www.briggseducation.com. So it's just my last name, Briggs, B as in boy, RIGGS, education.com, and you'll find information there. My webinar is actually going to be this Saturday, August 1st at 7:00 p.m. You can actually go to Eventbrite. The name of the webinar is Breaking Barriers and Raising Success. Again, you can go to Eventbrite, and the name of the webinar is Breaking Barriers and Raising Success. Or you can contact me directly at support@briggseducation.com. Again, that's support@briggseducation.com. If you have any specific questions about your child and you just want to have a conversation, on my website, you can actually go to a discovery call. But because you are a part of the Miami Business Leaders, what you can do is you can email me at support@briggseducation.com. And in the subject bar, you can write Miami Business Leaders, and I will actually give you a free discovery call just for joining us today.
That is amazing. So you heard that. If you are part of the Miami Business Leaders Group and you want a discussion with Princess, you're going to get a free consultation, and that's going to be amazing. Talk about your webinar coming up this weekend.
So this weekend, the webinar, we're going to discuss many things, specifically strategies that you can use at home to excel your child's education. Very basic, simple things that you can use at home. We're going to talk about language arts. We're going to talk about reading, writing, math. And I am actually going to give you strategies that you can use to support your children at home. Things like organizational skills, things like increasing their reading level, things like motivating them. We're going to discuss all of that on Saturday, 7 p.m. And it's a free webinar, but you must register. Although it's free, you must register so that you will receive the link to get into the chat.
And we have your links on your website and your webinar right here on the article page.
Awesome.
So we have all that here for you. Also, I do have some great news. Oh my gosh, listen. The power of networking and doing these live shows. I want to apologize. I hear an echo. I don't know if someone got. Okay. So just the power of networking and doing these live shows. We have a Miami business community leader who is part of the Miami Business Leaders Group in Facebook that has just messaged us, and they have offered us 2 computers to give to any parent that is watching this live. Yes, he has offered 2 computers to give to any parent that is in need. So thank you for sticking through and hearing this entire conversation, because we just got the word that we have 2 computers that are going to be donated by Carlos, who's one of our very fierce Miami business leaders. He has 2 computers to give to a parent that is in need. And if you are watching this live and you want to apply to receive these 2 computers, inbox us at ARC Solvers on our Instagram page. And we will get that information over to Carlos so that he can make the decision on who he wants to donate these computers to. But inbox us. This is amazing. This is so awesome. The power of networking, the power of knowing who the movers and the shakers are in our community. And just in a live, we received an email that Carlos will be giving out 2 computers to 2 parents who are in need. That is awesome. Again, thank you, Princess. Thank you for all you do in the community to raise awareness on education, on children. It's so important. And again, if you are now going to be working from home, educating from home, schooling from home, and your company does not provide a stable and an attentive, reliable, and knowledgeable IT company to help you with your IT needs while you're working from home, tell them to give ARC Solvers a call. We are an IT security, a cybersecurity and IT services firm here local in Miami. And this is the era where we need to take technology as serious as possible, because our lives and our livelihood are going to depend on it. So thank you guys for watching. Thank you for tuning in. Again, don't forget, inbox us. We have 2 computers that are going to be donated by one of our Miami business leaders to 2 families in need. Thank you guys. Thank you for tuning in, and have a blessed day.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.